this even starts. Well, I was here for a little bit of... Oh, it was 3.5 and not 4.5? Oh, I was one off. Whatever. Either way. I was late as fuck. So this is basically when I started. Season 4, basically. There are some hours logged in Season 3. But, like, look at that win rate. They're going to be the same on pretty much every character. It's very bad. Because I didn't know what I was doing. And so, like, that's the first part of context. And that's the first part of, like, my argument for. You can also see that, like, another piece of the context of the one-tricking conversation here is that it's not forever. I'm not advocating for a forever one-trick, although there's plenty of people who make it work. It's, like, not as big a deal as people think. Even Bruce Lee said, "I fear not the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks one time. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times." So, I one-tricked Sue to Lord and learned more about the game than my entire time flexing back and forth between Groot, Emma, and Magneto. I also learned in one-tricking Sue, initially, to Lord, what advice that's floating out there was good advice and what was just bullshit. Based in nothing. Based in somebody's feelings and their opinion. They saw it one time in a TikTok, but it's not like regularly. You know what I mean? It's not a commonly practiced, regularly, statistically viable fucking thing to take note of. You know, because those happen. There's plenty of those. I also learned some space control with Sue. I learned decent positioning, but I still really didn't know a fucking thing about the game. Even while I was one-tricking Sue, even though I had a little bit of a modicum of success with her, in contrast to beforehand. And then when I hit Lord with Sue, I really didn't have a problem changing. Initially, right? And then, so I did what I planned to do with Sue. And I hit Lord and I switched to Rocket. And, as you can see by the fact that he's fucking animated Lord, while nobody else is, I didn't switch off of him as much. I one-tricked him to my current peak, which was Grandmaster. And I didn't even actually get into Grandmaster as Rocket the first time. Like, I just touched Grandmaster. But, you know, you touch Grandmaster in your first season playing. First 2 seasons playing. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at if I hit Diamond 1 in Season 4. Let's check that real quick. No, no. See, with Sue, we only went to platinum, and this was late in the season. Yeah. See, while we're still one trick and Sue, we're still got the newbie. This was still on this time frames playtime. So it was season 5 then. Season 5, we started one trick in Rocket, and we went to a higher peak. Why the fuck does it say I was only a Diamond 2 in Season 6? Oh, right. I think Season 6 was... Yeah, okay. I think Season... I could have swore that was Season 5. Yeah, it was. It was 5.5 that we had the internet problems. See, wow. I'm old as fuck, plus my stroke when I was in my 20s. Like, my memory's a lot more fucked up than I realized. Come back and look at this sometimes. Because, like, for one, I've been playing a couple more seasons than I feel like I've been playing. Like, some of this I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know why these... Why the fuck is this reporting Diamond 2? Because I was Diamond 1 most of that fucking season. Season 5.5, I didn't have internet. My internet service provider was like shit was fucked up. Like, so season 5.5 was really rough. And then we were Diamond 1 here. I don't know, maybe that's just when I finished. I don't remember now. I don't know now. Because, like, yeah, it was this period of time that... Well, for one, I don't remember playing Thor that much in competitive. Um, and I had a GM rank up game 5 times. And we lost all 5 of them. So, because that's what... It was when I started losing the peak rank up games. It's like, I knew I could play there, but I started losing. And it was ultimately because of, like... That was one of the rare instances where the inflexibility was just, like, not going to help me. Because then... I was still fucking basically one-tricking. Don't even look at Emma's shit. I only played her for placements this season, season 7. And I was still, like, tapering off one-tricking Rocket when I hit Grandmaster. And then we actually did go into Grandmaster 2, but it's not reflected here, so it's whatever. Before immediately fucking deranking down to fucking Diamond 2. It was like GM2... Get fucked. And then I've been in fucking Diamond 2 Purgatory. Winning 50-50 for a minute now. Which is whatever, that's fine. Like, I'm kind of over the idea that, like, my rank is my worth or whatever. You know, so if I'm just a Diamond player or a Grandmaster player for a couple seasons, like, I'm okay with that. Because I've got, like, I have the understanding of learning now. Right? Yeah, season 7.5 has been fucking rough, bro. Anyways, I'm kind of derping off. Starting to space out. But the point of bringing this up is, like, if you one trick with a purpose, right? It's like I know so much more now about the game because I switched and because I held, right? So the first thing I did was, like, I want to tank in this game. I want to be a good tank. Rarely in life are goals straight lines from point A to point B. It's usually like point A, and then point B is something you don't even really want to talk about. It's way down in the shadow realm. And then point C is like back up in the light again. And then point D is kind of happy, trending in the right direction. And then E is back in the dumps. It's scary. Are we even supposed to be here? Is this worth it? Self-doubt, you know. And then F, G, H, I, like it all starts being generally upward, right? You know, but in our mind, we're like, yeah, from me to this goal is just going to be this fucking this upward line of productivity. It's like, no, there's going to be things you're going to have to learn along the way. And that's what Rocket gave me. Rocket gave me the perspective of like how this game actually works. What the ebb and flow looks like. What fucking push and pull looks like. Right? This is just a note on Rocket specifically. But Rocket will enable you to go a little bit further within the strategist line over a grand scheme of a lot of fucking games than any other strategist, for the simple fact that the res beacon, like you can stop a stagger with the res beacon. You can correct a stagger. You can disregard an over-diving Black Panther or a fucking 0-15 fucking Spider-Man. Like, your team can just kind of zerg, you know? You can just fucking not give a fuck. And that's actually a big part of why I don't play Rocket as much as I used to now. Like, that's a big part of what I got to see enough of. Is like when I started seeing matches where I would literally reload and two people would die, or I would reload, or not reload, excuse me. I'd have to move a beacon, and then all of a sudden, like, the dumbass that keeps dying doesn't steal my beacon, and I res the tank instead of the dumbass, or vice versa. Like, my tank is overextending and just not being a very good tank. We can just disregard that and throw more of him at the, you know. So Rocket just inevitably, by the nature of his beacon, creates certain outcomes, and you can end up with a 66% win rate, kind of artificially, and you can climb higher than maybe you should be for a minute or two. And in being there, you get to see like what the game's like, you know what I mean? I'll never forget my first Diamond 2 game. Like, I now have a very entrenched belief that this game, quote unquote, doesn't even start until Diamond. And it was the experience I had in this fucking Diamond 2 game that started formulating that thought process. Because it was just like, it was the first game that like two or three things happened. One, I think they had, okay, it was during season, what was that, fucking 5 or 6, when Hawkeye was cracked again, not long ago. And so I think they either had a Namor Hela team up with a cracked Hela, or they had a cracked Hawkeye. Either way, it was a game where the only way you were going to succeed was to not get poked to death. My wife just pulled up, and the dogs are about to get loud. Um, but yeah, you can see more things, and so you can understand like paradigms are going to change at higher ranks, and like you can hear that from other people, but at some point in your journey, you're gonna have heard a lot of shit from other people, and you're gonna start to believe that most of what you heard is not true, and then to get to see an example of one of the places where it is true, it's like, oh shit, okay, so I do need to like, you know, and through that exposure of like being temporarily in a rank that you don't belong in, you get exposed to those things. Um, I find that's usually when you know you're about to be there regularly, right? Because almost all of my accounts hover around Diamond 2 now, you know? So, like, I think. I think that's starting to show that like I am a diamond player in that regard, um, But I'm starting to yo-yo grandmaster now where I didn't before, right? And I'm starting to be able to hit places where I maintain that used to be my peak, right? And while it's not fun because the human brain just wants the success, wants the dopamine and the serotonin of being king of the hill rather than like enjoying the learning how to navigate the hill. I can tell you that like charting this sort of success where it's like constant and consistent overall general progress, that's better. That's much better. Um, because now when I do get to grandmaster as like my new whatever, like I'll stay in it longer, right? I won't yo-yo back out immediately, and then wonder if I'm even supposed to be there. I'll know that like okay, I see now the mistakes I'll stop making to get out of grandmaster. To yo-yo back down to diamond. You know, because like one thing we're not making is gold mistakes anymore. We're not making platinum mistakes anymore, right? You know what I mean? So transitioning though, just to show you how it evolves. Alright, we go to the most recent season. And like I've only swapped to Rocket when I've absolutely had to. Otherwise, I'm forcing myself to, I'm trying to lord Gambit and White Fox. And the only reason I have them in that order is because Gambit is still getting banned fairly regularly. So this will be, my first kind of season where I work on two lords at a time. Again, mostly because of extraneous thing. But one thing I haven't talked about, and I don't exactly know where to fit it into my conversation / argument for the one-tricking aspect, is the accessory lords. Hold on. But yeah, accessory lords or whatever, because this is sort of one. Like again, this is incredibly contextual. Um, I've learned enough about the game not to try to force certain comps, right? But this also shows you how much wiggle room you have. You know, we've already heard me rant and rave about fucking cloak and dagger one tricks to diamond, like so we know a sort of. Uh, and if you don't know by now, there is like no damage rocket, right? Like that is a person who exists within the community who has a story about something extraneous, i.e., he I think went all the way to Celestial or Eternity. Like he was basically already a Celestial or Eternity player, but he did it specifically on Rocket and specifically didn't do any damage other than to shoot things like Namor squids, Groot walls, penny nests. Um, and so like he one tricked that character all the way to that point, right? As an example. Um, so like there are certain characters in this game that like just work well enough to do whatever, right? But then there's also other characters that like you would quote unquote have to force. Like my girl Mantis here. Like across all seasons, I have 5 hours into Mantis at this point, and it's basically always just been either in like a key team up, like a Loki team up, um, or a Groot team up, which is rare enough because like Groot's always fucking banned, uh, or if one of my characters that I already knew was taken and the other one was banned, or if both of them were taken and we were in a triple support, or like if we were in a triple support and my team didn't freak out about it, because like it's been incredibly harder. It's been consistently harder on console the last 2 seasons to in the engagement ring to be able to get um like a good triple support. Like they just see triple support and they don't see what it is, right? They don't see like, oh, it's Gambit Ultron Mantis. Okay, fine. Like this is a triple support that does triple support, right? You know, they, they see triple support and their brain sees Luna Cloak and Dagger Invis or Invis Rocket Cloak and Dagger, right? Like they just see 3 lifelines and they're like, "Man, we're not gonna have any damage. Man, we're not gonna have whatever. Man, it's a crutch. Whatever, right?" This community is just goofy as fuck, and we have like the lowest hanging fruit fucking sort of takes. And she has continued to give me some more perspective because like I have a new newbie account, whatever you want to call it, Lobby account where I'm learning DPS. Well, like my time on Mantis gave me my time on Mantis and Ultron. I'm a pretty decent Ultron. I need to do more Ultron on this account this season, but um, Mantis and Ultron have taught me more about off angles and flanks than my Unga Boonga back with fucking apes silver and gold placement DPS account where like I have to hunt in packs and you know again I'm not like mechanically learning the character and I'm sort of learning matchups, but ultimately until I get that DPS account to fucking platinum or diamond, like I'm not learning as much advanced Marvel Rivals DPS understanding as I am on my Mantis and my Ultron. So, and then the Mantis Ultron extensions like that it's growing out of a necessity out of starting as a one trick. You know, contextual one tricking. You know, so let me be the first to tell you that one tricking to one above all is probably a little bit contentious and gonna make some aspects of your climb harder than it needs to be. However, one tricking to diamond, it's like a misdemeanor. It's like, if anything, it's an encouraged crime. Like a DUI in Alaska. You know, a DUI in Alaska is more like, good, we know you can drive in the snow now. Because, like, you're going to be drunk all winter in Alaska. Shit, just to keep warm. Oh my god. I'm having some difficulties with my blunt wrapper. With my blunt wrap. Little blunt wrap, yep. And then you also see that, like, my Thor is creeping up here. These 14 hours on Groot are basically all my fucking first couple seasons playtime. Like, I was basically a Groot one trick in the very beginning. Like, I played a little bit of Magneto, but, again, by the fucking hours here. No, I didn't. But, yeah, you know, Thor's creeping up. Emma's creeping up. And that's, you know, I wouldn't be able to play them up at, quote-unquote, my rank if I hadn't learned what I learned. And I learned good habits. Because, like, I haven't gone into depth on this yet, but I need to have, like, a whole... A lot of people have a content format like what each rank needs to know to improve or some shit like that, right? What I need to format is a content idea around what you need to unlearn from each rank, right? When you get to Platinum, there's a bunch of habits that will carry you to Platinum. But when you get to Diamond, those habits become not useful. And, like, that's a weird thing, because, like, most of the habits in this game are, like, very binary. Good habit, bad habit. Then there's some habits that are, like, good until gold, good until Grandmaster, good until Plat, right? And if no one gives you that nuance, if no one gives you that overview, if no one tells you that, like, this is a crutch, right? Hey, this is a contextual piece of advice. What? Yeah, this is going to get you through Diamond, but stop using it when you get to Grandmaster. You know, completely unlearn that habit when you get to Grandmaster and above. What? It's not quite as important now with the alt change, but when I started and the alt change wasn't changed yet, and it was still alt Fiesta game, one of the habits that used to get you out of fucking all the way to Plat was just alting when you had it and getting value with it. Not, like, literally whiffing the fuck out of it. But, like, what I mean by that is there's so many people who have watched TikTok creators, who have watched Flats, Boger, Necros, whatever, and have this idealized, theorized, perfect time to, you know, whatever. So, like, you have, like, a group Moon Knight, right? That's the idealized perfect combo. Yeah, in Plat and above. In Gold, it's so much better if your Moon Knight just fucking... Because of how fast Moon Knight can get his alt, it's so much better if a Moon Knight just gets his alt and alts and starts building immediately his next alt. And then at the end of the game, you look back and see that like Moon Knight ulted 5 fucking times. Right? Whereas like you get into the higher ranks, you start climbing up into Diamond, into Grandmaster, into whatever. And like people are gonna even have counter ults ready for you. People are gonna have counter combos. They're gonna have enough game sense that they're gonna see your Groot has weird body language and is probably angling for an alt, and they're gonna already have looked at your fucking comp and be like, so it holds to have a little more trigger discipline in a place where like you have to actually wait for a window. But like waiting for a window in a rank where you're only going to be punished for a bad ult a couple times, like, I'd almost rather see that person learn the temporary habit and get the fuck out of the bad rank than try to adhere to the highest possible good that doesn't serve them in that setting. We used to have that problem in World of Warcraft, dude. World of Warcraft, fucking PvP match is like 7 minutes, 8 minutes long. Hypothetically, within that, right, almost everybody in that game at that time that I'm talking about had a 1.5, 2 minute, or 3 minute cooldown for their abilities. So like you had a hypothetical amount of times you could get that ability onto cooldown. And back when I was doing 3v3 and 5v5 with my homies, the amount of times that all we needed to do to correct them was to literally just get them to use their button, value or not, 2 more times per match. Right? Like, that's where we started. I didn't even, like, ask for accuracy. It was like, hey, my mage, Palm Pyro. Presence of Mind, Pyroblast. Pretty sure that's a 2 minute cooldown. Might have been a 90-second, but I'm pretty sure that's a 2 minute cooldown. One of my Palm Pyro mages that I ran with, it was like, bro, why didn't you Palm Pyro here in this fight? I was waiting for you. I was a hunter. I was waiting for you to ice trap. You were waiting for me to ice trap? Yeah. Bro, the whole point of Palm Pyro is, like, to cast it instantly. Like, you don't need the trap. If anything, if you would have Palm Pyro'd and then I trapped him, we could have fucking bursted him down from not full health. Like, which we can do. Like, I don't then need to use my 2 minute cooldown. We can kill him, and then I can use my next 2 minute cooldown on his homie. Sort of shit. It's just going to snowball in ways that we can't even anticipate if we're trying to think it out. And he's like, oh, okay. So I just get him to, like, open the fight with his fucking cooldown. And just get in the habit of that. And then we'd go play 6 games, and we'd look back on our 6 games. And, we went 4-2. Whereas before, when he was being a little bit too conservative, we either went 3-3 or we went fucking 2-4. Depending on how hyper fucking aggressive the enemy teams we were up against. Right? Because then when I got him to just be hyper aggressive, like, we just zerged motherfuckers. We just win. And the cooldown economy is not that different from the alt economy of this game. Similar enough concepts. The timing's slightly different. The impact is slightly different. But the angling and the staging should be about the same. Couple other things you get out of one-tricking is you get like a deep contextual one-tricking is a deep understanding of your matchups. You know, we've talked about this before, but we'll say it again here for this clip. When I play Rocket, I don't automatically switch just because the enemy switched to Phoenix. I test the Phoenix. I test to see if that Phoenix has any fucking trigger discipline, or if they're gonna get their ult and fucking drop it on somebody, and then I'm free to ult after them. You know what I mean? I'm gonna stress test that. And if I had just learned Rocket to learn the game rather than to learn Rocket, I might just accept the low-hanging fruit of they switch to Phoenix, I'll switch off Rocket. Right? Rather than do one or two team fights testing them. Alright, this blunt is almost rolled up. We are almost done rolling up. What the fuck is this song? Spotify, what are you doing? Alright. Fantastic. We are all done rolling up. That is not my controller. Bro, get off my fucking screen. Alright. So we're gonna go take a smoke break, take a tenner. We'll see you back.